Oh, so John Fetterman placed a shotgun at a guy's black person's chest, right?
Yeah, that's what happened.
Yep. Unbelievable. We'll get into these stories. Welcome back to Truth Hurts. I'm Jake Duesenberg. We expose corrupt politicians and lying corporate media. They're lying to you. They are, right? Liz Collin, our new guest here, first time on the show.
Thanks for having me, you guys.
Absolutely.
Great product placement, Jake. Thank you so much.
It's like I planned that one there.
It's like I brought books for you.
Wait, there's two. There's another one over there.
Weird.
Joining as always are the political junkies, MAGA Jesse and Mr. Straight-Laced himself, William Beck. What's up, guys?
Yeah, good to be here.
It's totally not strange that William is just sitting right.
Not strange at all.
He's just like growing out of the plant. It's perfect.
The problem is Deep State Dawson came in. He's feeling very sick. Let's get a view of Deep State Dawson in there. Look how bad he looks.
You're looking rough, man.
Keep
Sorry,
down
Skin
all
and
those
bones
gains.
in there.
You can tell his dedication, though. He's still here.
Yes, still operating the control room. Reading your comments is Bridget, as always. How you doing,
Doing
Bridget?
great.
That's it?
Yep.
That's great.
Just great.
All right. Let us know where you're watching. Tell us what you think. If you got questions for Liz Collin, please type in on Rumble. She'll be reading Facebook and YouTube. I don't think, Liz, you're going to get us banned on YouTube. Are you going to get us banned on YouTube today?
I don't plan to, but I don't know. I'm a little controversial these days. You don't really know.
If
we'll
you're
see.
controversial, what are we?
Oh yeah, you guys have no idea. Yeah.
I mean, look, Jesse, he has to go through his hats before the show, and he's looking at the tinfoil hat or the MAGA hat.
Yep.
Either one's
on
going
a
to
great
get
one
banned.
today.
I think so, yeah. It depends on the subject. Sometimes we're talking about things you can't say on YouTube. Sometimes you need a different hat for all that. So, you never know.
The YouTube listeners and watchers will keep it on YouTube today. I don't think we're going to need to take it down. We're going to talk about a couple stuff after Liz Collin's story, drag story hour in Chaska, Minnesota. That's interesting. 4 children at a children's boutique store, a little children's clothing store. Young children. Trans fighter accepts Jake Shields' offer. I love Jake Shields, a big MMA fan. I can't wait to talk about this story. And then MAGA Jesse's got Trump's deposition videos and a clip of his accuser. You will not want to miss this. If you're having a hard time following along, Trump's in, 4 legal battles right now?
Yeah, a million. Right. No, it's nonstop. It's always another witch hunt. So
and this
that's what's to be expected.
This is a civil rape case. So just wait till you see this stuff. So we'll leave that to the end. Let's start the story here, Liz. This is why I wanted to bring you in. First of all, Mark Bashofsky had you on the show.
Yeah,
and
Mark's
great interview. Bob was with you.
I came solo today.
Yes, I didn't have enough room for Bob. That's the problem.
He would be just by that plant back there next to William. It'd be super
He's
awkward.
taller than William, though.
Yeah.
He'd be off the
It'd be
set.
fine. It'd be fine.
So it made me realize I haven't read your book yet. And, you
got stuff going on. That's
I got little kids. That's the problem.
Yeah.
We all have things going on, but the little kids just interrupt your time. So by the time you...
Little kids probably would not appreciate the book either. So keep it out of
I just mean in the sense that I go to bed, and if I'm trying to read in bed, it's like about 10 minutes. That's all I'm good for.
Yeah.
So when you were on Mark's show, you said you had an audiobook. I go, oh, right. Download that. So that's what I did. I did the audiobook. Very good job. Because you're reading it, but you're also bringing other people on the pod. Oh, it's like a podcast in many ways. It's like a podcast. It's an audiobook, but it's not just you. It's Bob's voice is in it, reading the stories from the Minneapolis press release and I think the union as well. You've got, I can't remember the officers' names, but they're all former officers, by the way, just to give the story away. They're all former officers, and you have them reading their own letters. So it's really good. The audiobook, I think it's 5.5 hours long, and because it was turkey hunting season, I had plenty of car time, so it was great. I got through it right away.
Good. Well, no, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Actually, it's funny with the audiobook. I thought, well, how hard could the audiobook be? This is sort of what I do. I read a lot of things. In fact, you guys actually need a teleprompter. I'm not even sure what to do or where to look in the studio.
Look at me, Liz.
I don't really know without a teleprompter.
Teach you about studios here.
Just read the words. But the audiobook is actually quite difficult, just with the uploading process and everything that goes along with it. But it was awesome to have the people that, that's really why I wanted to do this book in the first place, was to give a voice to all of these people that lost their voices through all of this. And I think we've been grappling with all of that for 3 years now. Nearly 3 years it's coming upon us, but yeah, the officers who've left the department, hundreds of them, obviously the police force in Minneapolis nearly cut by 40% at this point, showing no signs of getting any better. But yeah, I think they really added some depth to the book, obviously, and the audio version as well. So
100%. The female officer that I think she was in some command position.
Kim.
Kim, yeah, and she had to flee the 3rd precinct. That was a devastating story.
Yeah, she talks about that and something that, the book was a lot longer, like any sort of story is, and then I had to go through and toss out quite a bit because I did want people to, be able to digest it. I think it would have been like 900 or 1,000 pages. Nobody has that kind of time. Wow. But Kim told me her last image of just leaving Minneapolis was, she decided to retire after the riots, after basically being scapegoated, the entire department, by such poor leadership. But she's on her last shift, kind of saying goodbye to everybody after a lunch that they had for her and such. And she's a lieutenant and very well respected within the department. And as their squad is driving back, as she's on her way to her, personal car, she's basically given the bird by people who, on the side of the road from the sidewalk. And she's like, you know what? I'm glad I'm leaving this city. It's time to go. But imagine that, you spend your life, you signed up to serve and protect, and this is the last image you have upon retirement, that you're flipped off getting into your personal car. So
is this Kim Potter you're talking about?
No, this is Kim Lund, who is a lieutenant. But yeah, we could talk about that too. Speaking of more political prisoners in Minnesota,
right.
we have a long list.
Different
Yeah.
jurisdiction, different police force there, William.
Gotcha. I wasn't even full, so I haven't read your book yet.
Oh,
I
there we
plan
go.
to.
It's out now.
You know what? You guys have a few copies here.
Oh,
so,
no excuses.
right. No excuses after we're done here.
I got a new chair for you to read it in, too.
Here we go, right here.
You have to stay there in
I
that
gotta stay
position
here
and
until I
read
finish
the
it.
entire book.
Yeah.
Yes.
And welcome to the Alpha News audience. Liz is now a reporter with Alpha News because basically WCCO wanted to kick you out of... Well, let's get into that right away.
Yeah,
because
we can get into
part of
that.
this show is exposing lying, corrupt media.
Yes.
And you basically, you have an interesting story, like from the get-go, at early age. I think it was 8 years old. You started a newspaper and like a little...
Why are you laughing?
neighborhood.
I was super
Well,
cool.
it's pretty cute. I
Yeah.
was just going through with my kids on
Seems
budgeting.
seems
My
like you're
8-year-old right now, Liz, he really wants some new Mario thing. Dawson would be very proud of him. However, here's
Dawson's
the problem.
close to death, so it's still
Dawson,
Still with-
he's
still
back.
with us. Okay,
He's-
good. Oh, wow,
well, 'cause the
you
Mario
put on some
reference.
weight since we saw you last.
Yeah.
Can't speak.
He's offended by that statement.
Okay.
You were a skeleton before.
It
Don't
wasn't
worry
a-
about it,
It's not a
Dawson.
bad thing, Dawson.
Oh.
He dressed as Luigi on the
That's
day the
funny,
Mario
yeah.
movie came out, by the way.
I did.
That's Dawson for you. Anyhow, I was teaching him about budgeting and has to earn some income. So it never crossed my head. Hey, maybe you should create your own neighborhood paper.
And you'll be
That's
rich.
what you did.
Yeah, I was very wealthy back then. It was 15 cents a copy for the newspaper. But no, I've always been a naturally curious person and put this newspaper together with some of my friends in the neighborhood. My sister, she couldn't even meet deadlines, so I eventually had to fire my sister, which really tells you about what a horrible person I am. That was the second summer. She lasted one summer. But and then I was interviewed by Don Shelby when I was a little kid, and I told him I wanted his job, and it was sort of that dream job at WCCO. But I will be honest that I saw the media change in my time there and was not comfortable with what I was seeing happen. I think you guys are very smart and ahead of the game. Your fresh faces.
Wait,
and
why'd you look
your
at
young
them and
staff.
not me when you said
Well,
that? That was interesting.
sorry, Jake, you're slightly older than these guys.
Oh, yeah, true.
Maybe a little bit more than slightly, but
But it was just not so much of what the news was telling you, but what they were not. And I definitely saw it with this George Floyd story, very much so, which is why I put the book out there.
The thing that we like that you cover the most is talking to vaccine injured people or against the COVID narrative. So if you want to follow Liz Collins, look, she actually goes and gets those stories. That's the other thing the media's just been lying crazy about is that. But let's get into this here. Pull up the story on the National Guard emails that were released here. This is what makes this story so relevant. There was a FOIA request by the Star Tribune about what happened during the early days of the riots that actually led to the burning of the 3rd precinct. I don't have it up on my computer here. Anyhow, it shows that the Minnesota National Guard was ready. Now, remember at this time, Tim Walz is like, they're just a bunch of 19-year-old cooks, right? Mm-hmm. The guy that abandoned troops, didn't go on the deployment, dodged it to run for Congress. I got a lot to say about that. You can watch our old show about it. But the National Guard was ready to go. What was it? William, you wrote the story. 12 hours prior to
Right.
3rd Precinct falling. So
Prior to the 3rd Precinct being attacked.
First Molotov
By
cocktail.
the time they got there at 4 a.m. the next day, it had already been burning for hours.
That's
And
right.
Just to share a little bit of insight on that, too, as I'm seeing this develop in my own home, Bob is on the phone with then Senator Gazelka, and he's saying we need 2,000 National Guard troops, and Gazelka's trying to do what he can. So this is the very first day of, before the riots even started, but they were, just so worried as they see all these crowds come in. And we've talked since to, people kind of higher ups within the National Guard, and they were ready. They were just waiting for the call. Yeah.
I still talk to my.
And so
my
this
boys.
information comes out. I don't really think it's much of a surprise, but it really just goes to show. I also think it's interesting that they fulfill that FOIA request long after the election, of course, after Governor Walz is reelected.
Yeah, so fair point. And the thing that's interesting about your story is you don't really pull any punches about the lack of leadership from Jacob Frey. I remember seeing that infamous press conference that he did on the night, I think, of the first riots, like 1 a.m., right? They say there's nothing that good happens after midnight. And he just looks like this JROTC cadet that's never been in a stressful position.
I was going to say,
Little
Jake, when
kid.
you're even talking about press conferences, I'm like, which one exactly? Was it the one that where he was crying, which always depicts
He probably
because
was.
there were
during that one,
several.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard. I don't think you can categorize a press conference of his by crying. It seems like and how much of it's real crying, I don't know. It's fake crying.
Right.
But he just lost his shit. He didn't know what he was doing. It seems, at least from these emails, that the real onus is on Tim Walz, because Jacob Frey wanted the National Guard. Tim Walz is basically the commander-in-chief of the Minnesota Army National Guard, could have deployed them. Even Trump was trying to get the National Guard to move, and Tim Walz didn't do it.
Well, that's what's interesting with the book too. Hearing from some of these officers, these high-ranking officers, and they're saying they want mutual aid, they want help, they're calling up for help and such too. But there was this pushback. There's one instance that I talk about in their lying, but it's this planned surrender of the 3rd Precinct, because of course this was all part of the plan. This was sort of a reparation. They liked the optics of giving away the precinct, which is completely insane.
Yeah.
Right? But this was, something that was planned. But there was a city bus that goes and collects all of the belongings from the people who work inside that precinct that day. So earlier in the day, they're packing up garbage bags. They're bringing them out to this bus that's pulled up right by the precinct. But then that bus is supposed to come back for the officers once they go ahead and sound the, all clear, you got to get out of here. It's time to go and give this up. And that bus is supposed to come back for them, but this time it's parked a half of mile away. So the officers have to run to this bus, being pelted with rocks and bottles, and they have all kinds of injuries as a result. And then the bus is even late at that time to pick them up. But this is all part of the plan.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
And so do you think Jacob Frey actually wanted to get the National Guard there? Because it seemed to me that he was almost just trying to shift the blame onto Tim Walz. Don't blame me. Do you think he was actually trying to request that? What's your perspective there?
I don't actually spend much time trying to get into the brain of Mayor Jacob Frey, but it just seemed like there was just so much finger pointing and blaming. But I brought that up in the book, too, that Jacob Frey is a known liar. I mean, this is his entire political career. And I think the reason the book has done well is because I wrote it as a reporter. I had more than 250 sources. It's a story of fact. It's not that I made up or I had this vendetta against Jacob Frey, and I really don't, because I was so bothered by people are not bringing this very relative information about Jacob Frey to this conversation about George Floyd, and now to the consequences we all have to live with now in Minnesota because of these lies that he told. But he was meeting with the police department long before George Floyd, saying, we need more cops. I'm going to give you guys more cops. And this is when they had 900 police officers there. But then he would tell people in press conferences that he doesn't want the support of the cops, and he doesn't he doesn't support these people. And we saw that with his behavior again and again. And that's just the leader he is. And it's hard even using that word when you refer to some of these
I never
these
called
people
them political leaders.
Yeah.
That left my dialogue during COVID. And what's crazy about Minneapolis is he was the most pro-cop Minneapolis Democrat on the ballot in 2020.
Well, right.
Which isn't saying a lot.
Yeah.
Not 2020, 2021. When was
Yeah,
that?
2021.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so crazy, and it's just like Chicago. These big cities are just going absolutely nutty here. There's a pattern here with Jacob Fry. He also had a trash incident, a trash on the tree incident, where I think a lot of us remember maybe the headlines. Tell us about that story.
Yeah, so the backstory here is, and this is the point I was making, then at WCCO when I worked there, that his past is so relevant to what's playing out. I mean, he is a civil rights attorney. This was his, the way he made money before becoming a politician. So he is hyper focused on race. Whether it's a racial incident or not, he's going to go ahead and say it is before the the facts even come in on any of this. This is what we saw in George Floyd. But previous to that, there was an incident in the 4th precinct where some officers, as a joke, decorated the tree inside the precinct with a bunch of trash they found just on the street or in garbage, garbage bins, and they go ahead and dump this trash. So he tweets without knowing anything about the incident.
Hold on. The joke is because somebody was really serious about the tree, loved the look of it.
Right.
They thought this
was a kind of a joke on
nerdy.
their
Let's mess
command
up the tree
staff.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you guys get the humor? Most people do. Jacob Fry's probably never been part of any kind of fraternity to understand this.
So this was our joke to kind of upset the gal who's a neat freak, and she spends a lot of time with her tree. And a community member takes issue to the garbage on the tree and says it's racist. Therefore, the mayor says it's racist, and he says that these police officers are going to be fired by the end of the day, which he fires them. They get their jobs back through the grievance process. But again, it's this narrative again and again that the cops are racist, even though a black officer was involved in this too. But we don't go ahead and, he doesn't wait for any of these facts, and he doesn't, frankly, he doesn't care.
All right, so we're talking about They're Lying. This is Liz's book. Bridget, go ahead and post the link. We're doing a giveaway, a signed copy. I think this is the signed.
This is so exciting. This is my
That's your
first
signature
giveaway.
right there, Liz? That's all you have?
I can
That's
do.
okay, that's her mark.
I can do a lot more. I
The
mean,
reporter
just
formerly known
tell
as
me
Liz
how
Collin
you
is now known as this here. So should name a highway after you. Get that passed in the Senate. So Liz Collin signed-ish book. We're giving away. Put the link
Wow, it was
in
a
the.
rough crowd.
No kidding.
Don't you know what you're getting into, Liz?
Yeah, I do.
We're being nice to you. Just wait till I rip on Mega Jesse today. Actually, I really like the Trump deposition. We're gonna have a lot of fun with that video.
Oh yeah.
This is the links in the comment section. Are we putting it on YouTube and Facebook
Yeah,
as
put 'em
well?
on all.
Okay, so we're on all social medias. Please do follow us on Rumble, okay? Because we tend to get taken down on the other social media platforms for saying the truth. Truth hurts sometimes. Social media doesn't like that.
Like your microphone says.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Patterns. Let's talk about patterns here. I thought. So I remember when the Chauvin case was happening. I was like, I am going to watch this. I'm going to get really into it. And I never did. I don't know why. Maybe there's something else going on. Meanwhile, the Rittenhouse thing, I was like, I don't think I'm going to get into that. And then I was glued to the TV. I couldn't get over that one. Maybe because I could see myself in that situation. Rittenhouse, by all means, seemed to be innocent. It was a self-defense case. And by the way, no black people involved in that one. You wouldn't know by
Which was
turning into
also racist.
CNN.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a white supremacist. That's what Joe Biden called Kyle Rittenhouse, a white supremacist. And he shot 2 white people. One was like a child rapist. So in this trial, and you get into it, it was great. I didn't realize some of these things like George Floyd, the saint of the left, had a history of taking pills. Was with
Well, there were many.
many.
Yeah.
Fentanyl being one of them.
Yeah.
This happened in an arrest just the year prior in 2019, correct?
Yeah, I talked to the officer, Scott Creighton is his name, who was an undercover narcotics officer, and George Floyd was the subject of this arrest. But what's interesting is, talk about the lies that were told, is, the media asked that right away, is George Floyd somebody you guys know? Is he known to you? And the police chief, the mayor, says, nope, never heard of him. And this narcotics team is like, yeah, we arrested this guy, almost a year ago for selling thousands of dollars in counterfeit pills. So Scott Creighton talks about in the book, and he does a bit on the stand too, but it's very limited as to what he can say, which is an interesting backstory with Keith Ellison as well. But he just talks about just basically a carbon copy of the arrest that also went down in May of 2020 to what happened in May of 2019.
Yeah, and that's a fantastic part of the book. You give him a lot of time to talk. I think was that his voice that was reading it, or was it someone else?
I may have had a voice actor for that.
I thought
some of these police
I think you
officers
alluded to
don't
it.
think they can actually read very well. So
I love him.
Yeah.
All right. Liz, because people are going to want to get the book, the lieexposed.com is the best place, or Amazon too, I'm guessing.
Yep. TheLieExposed.com will get you all the links to the audiobook. And we're working on a documentary now next, too. The story isn't over yet.
Is that the one you're doing here in this? Oh, good.
Yeah, well,
I didn't realize that was the one. I figured you had a lot of things you're working on. All right.
It's this one, yeah.
All right.
We've
Well,
had a
I
lot
won't
of
say
people
anymore.
come forward since the book. So I'll be back on the show. We can talk about that.
There you go. So another thing that came up in the book, and I don't know if you got too much into it, and I forgot to research this, but George Floyd was accused of raping a woman like a week or so prior to this event happening.
Yeah, there's that's sort of how I open the book, something that was known a bit, but nobody talked about it. And in fact, there are others as well. Some more to come there, to be continued. But again, this man was, clearly painted as something he was not by the most powerful positions in Minnesota. So there's some information about that as well.
Okay, we'll leave it at that then, huh? So where I think this story is really fascinating, why you are the right person to write this whole book, is that not only were you a reporter with WCCO, but you're married to the police. I always get this wrong. I always say police chief, not the police chief, the union chief of the Minneapolis Police. Was it Minneapolis Police Federation?
Gotcha. You got it.
Okay.
Yep.
And because, at least how you allude to in the book, because he dared endorse Donald Trump, that put a target on his head as the obviously living embodiment of all white supremacy and Nazism in America, which I assume you know who you married, and that was not the guy that you married, but that's what you're being told.
Right.
And even your employer was taking you off stories because of their perceived look upon the audience that's already drawn their own conclusions. But where I think I first heard about you is all of a sudden this mob shows up outside this home in Hugo, Minnesota, and Alpha News is on the ground. They were on the ground on a lot of these things, and they were on the ground that day and broke the
only
story.
really to be on the ground. Everybody
Only
else
one.
is afraid. The mainstream media wouldn't cover anything. They were just afraid of it.
Peaceful little neighborhood in Hugo, Minnesota, just like all our neighborhoods. And there's some piñatas, and yes, we know it's Bob Kroll's house, but we also realize there's a blonde woman there, and it's Liz Collin, a reporter at WCCO, who happens to be married to Bob Kroll. Tell us about that. That is, I can't imagine that happening at my house, and maybe it's only years away.
Yeah,
from
I was going to
happening,
say,
but-
well, be careful. It might. Think though how good Jesse's going to look though in piñata effigy. I'm just thinking,
That's right. There would be a perfect caricature that they could get.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I was like,
Kind of
these
like
art
Trump.
students have really done big things that they. Well, actually, and Bob, was wearing a diaper, so that was funny. Actually, the whole thing was just completely horrendous, but I do have a sense of humor. So, otherwise, if you don't laugh about some of this stuff, we'd all just be crying constantly. But this was August 2020, and we knew that it was happening because they organize on Facebook. That's how this all works. And they were even posting pictures about these exciting piñatas on Facebook.
Wow.
To bring the crowds up. But we didn't really realize how big it would be until we saw a traffic camera angle. We were out of town that weekend, and there was about 150 cars just lined up to get off to this exit in Hugo. So, it was just sort of like one of those, your heart sinks. And we, warned our neighbors, and they knew it was coming, but you can't really tell people to leave their own homes, of course. But they were trapped in the circle for a little while, several hours as this all played out. But what was so interesting is, these are paid protesters. They're paid to be there. You had some church leaders that were there that, we were able to track down online. And it was just completely insane, as we had a state rep candidate, John Thompson, who I know you guys have talked about before, but, screaming into a megaphone, saying horrendous things. About Bob, about me. You had Nikema Levy Armstrong, all of our favorite people who spew lies, and for some reason the media puts these people up on pedestals, and they go ahead and don't even fact check what they're saying. And meanwhile they are paid to be doing exactly what they're doing.
You throw that accusation out there. What do you know about the
Oh, well, I
payment?
mean, you just have to kind of follow the money for all of this with all of these people. The Racial Justice Network, there's many of them. Take a look at, who has taken the place of police officers in Minneapolis. A lot of them are associates of Keith Ellison. They're making a lot of money off this defund the police movement.
I see Jesse over there. He's just like, say George Soros, say George Soros.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, well, and
Right.
George Soros, and Bob would talk about that because that was very early in this movement. You could see, these ties to George Soros, and he talked about that on a WCCO radio interview. And immediately, these reporters are going after him, and the media is. And the Star Tribune does the story 2 years later that in fact George Soros spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on the defund the police movement.
Oh,
But
of
no
course.
reporters followed up on that story, just beyond a little blurb in the Star
Shocking.
Tribune. Yeah.
We have a question from K-Wall for Life for Liz. Who paid the John Thompson crew?
There were several, but that Racial Justice Network
Yeah.
was one of them. And I will say the George Soros connections, there were a couple girls that came to protest that summer, and I had a conversation with them, and they said they were from Oregon. And they said that they received money to come to Hugo, Minnesota, and they got a hotel room for the weekend, and they had no idea who I was. They had no idea who Bob was, but they brought a sign into our neighborhood and found our house and stood out in front of it for a while. And they admitted that they were from Oregon.
How does that?
I know.
How do you place that in your head that some, huge billionaire is paying these activists from Oregon to come to your town, come to your house to protest you?
Well, and it
That's
happened.
crazy.
It happened all over with, and that's why I talk about in the book too. With this case, there was such intimidation. I mean, talk about just Bob and I, who aren't even really connected to this really at all. I mean, we didn't know the officers, we didn't know, but you take a look at what happened to
Yeah, but
to
it's all
our
your
lives.
fault, don't you understand?
Well, right,
you're
yes, but
projecting
that's
your
what the
white
left. That's what the
pride,
left
yeah.
does, and I'm still naive in the fact that okay, well, I've uncovered all this information about what's going on, and for sure somebody from the news will be interested in the truth. But again and again, it was just that was not the case. In fact, after the that pinata bashing incident, I then called WCCO and I just said, I think this is newsworthy because this guy wants to be a state rep and Minnesota voters should know this is what he did. This is newsworthy. And I was just told that just showed my bias and we would not be, covering that as a news story.
Wow.
And it's goofy for you because you're a reporter and usually the news isn't supposed to be about yourself.
Right. But I thought this.
How's that not newsworthy?
They ran something, it was like 3 days later and it ended up like 20 or 30 seconds. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so how did you find out about these two people that came from Oregon? So did they tell you what was the format?
And they
were they apologizing?
No, they just said they were like
effect?
college kids.
Huh,
Yeah,
really?
we're paid to be here, and we heard you're a racist, and this is just the conversation.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and there even the box that they had the sign made up. We had a Oregon, it was a mailing shipping label from Oregon that they brought with.
Unbelievable.
Interesting.
Tell me about the neighborhood after this happens, because I know a lot of my neighbors. We love our neighborhood in. I'm not gonna say.
I
I
wouldn't
don't want to
say
say
it.
the town. I've
Just
probably
say
said it many
just
times.
say Hugo. It's fine.
Eastern suburbs. Like I gotta imagine this happening outside my house, and the neighborhood be all. Neighborhood meetings, community watch. What ends up happening for
Yeah,
this?
we
It's
have
crazy.
we have really great neighbors. So, but then we had the Washington County Attorney, Pete Orpit. He's no longer with us. He's since passed away. But he came, and also the sheriff of Washington County came and basically went house to house because we thought, for sure somebody will be charged. We didn't actually know that you could go up in somebody's driveway, beat a pinata, and we thought somebody would be, I don't know if it's criminal charge or a fine or I just didn't really realize you could actually do that. But we were thankful that we weren't there because that would have been. That's sort of what they want. I mean, right? They want some sort of confrontation with law enforcement. This is how they make their money. This
Yep.
is, how they would push that. So everybody just was very hands off, which we appreciate. There's a lot of plainclothes officers, in the crowd that day, which we were thankful for. But the neighborhood was
Ray
great.
upstairs,
But
what? No, good.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's good.
Some provocators.
yeah, that's smart. But they.
By the way, where'd William go? Why did he just leave set?
He's probably tired of sitting in that chair.
I don't.
Be my guess.
Please
gonna get a
completely
cushion,
ruin the
yeah.
view. Is he got lunch ordered all of a sudden? He just.
You said this is just it's a very loosey-goosey
Well,
show.
yeah, but not
Like-
for you. Jeez.
That's just for Dawson.
Can we
Lucy
fire
goes for
William?
Dawson.
Can he? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I feel bad. I have to include it more in the conversation.
No, that's probably it.
Yeah,
He's
he's
offended,
probably
Liz.
pissed.
Yeah, right.
Tucker91 says MAGA Jesse pinatas would sell down here.
See?
That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
I'm
Maybe.
really
Yep.
saying, you guys have an online store yet? Let's make this happen.
Right.
Oh, yeah. we
Yeah.
I
can
know
do
both
that.
liberals and conservatives. It'd be good for
Yeah.
everyone. So I
There-
like
but
it.
Your fan base, which tends to be women,
I can
40
see
and
why.
above. Yep, exactly.
40 and above, yeah.
They wouldn't even touch that pinata. They would just store it. It'd be a decoration in the house.
Yep, something like that.
And then the left would be like, "Oh, I hate this guy."
Uh huh.
Oh, man.
I had another question about
Oh,
the
yes.
Derek Chauvin trial. Do you think it was maybe a mistake for him when he took the stand not to testify? Because to me, when I see him sitting there quietly wearing a mask, I thought he looked a little bit weak. I thought it wasn't maybe the right tactic. Do you wish that he maybe would have testified just to give us that other side of the story?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of see it from both ways. And I talked to Eric Nelson about that in the book a little bit too. What the thought was, why do that? But I think as a reporter, it's hard sometimes to legally it made sense as far as but you want the full story and for what Derek Chauvin was built up to being and still to this day. I mean, you had the police chief of Minneapolis a couple weeks ago retiring his badge number, and somebody who he kneeled on basically with that same maneuver gets nearly $8 million just a couple weeks ago in a settlement, who lives through the whole thing, which is weird, which the media didn't want to point out at all.
Right.
There's he was just built up into this monster that he clearly is not, but that's the power of the media and manipulation and what they made him out to be. So
Right.
I do wish that he would have
Yeah, I think so too. I think that if he would have just given some sort of explanation to it and just, because silence, it gives people the impression that, it almost assumes guilt or something, even though you can't make that correlation legally. But just to the average viewer, I know that that's how some people were interpreting his silence. And at that point, I thought, your back's against the wall. You might as well as, say your side of the story.
But I think with Chauvin, he didn't necessarily realize, which I think is interesting, that his back was against the wall, because he even read the book and said that there was many things he didn't know, which is actually
really?
quite
Wow, I
which
was
is
just gonna
actually
get
quite
into
sad.
that.
He talked about with even the training and such. You had the police chief, the mayor saying, this isn't how we train. You even had the chief of police testify to that in trial. And I talk about this in the book too, how I knew the day after this happened that these 2 pages of the training manual just mysteriously disappear offline. And I'm saying in the newsroom, like, we should probably do a story about this. This is very odd. What happened to this maximum restraint technique, this MRT? And then it's put back online like 3 weeks later when the media has moved on to something else. And you have this in training, and they didn't even introduce a slide about MRT because they couldn't find whether or not Chauvin had actually taken the training, which he had. Clearly, it was part of the training to be a police officer. So there's just all of these things going on behind the scenes that he wasn't even privy to, which is really quite something.
Well, the thing that I was thinking about the time this happened, and the way I stand is Chauvin went way too far in the end, right? I mean, the time alone, but did they teach this restraint technique? You have evidence in the book that suggests that they did, and then yes, there is a story behind them just removing that, because didn't they take it offline and then put it back up there with
put back on.
But we have to remember this was like May of 2020. Like, everyone is supposedly scared of COVID. They're arresting people on beaches in California here. You don't go into a restaurant because someone might have COVID. And I'm thinking, you wouldn't want to be anywhere next to the person's face. So didn't that ever get brought up in the trial? The fact that we're in like this middle of this pandemic, the media, the government officials are scaring us to death that would be anywhere close to somebody. And George Floyd was COVID positive.
Well, I think what's interesting also, another one of the lies is, you talk about this video, this Facebook video is what everybody has seen. And this is the very first time in MPD history that the body camera footage is hidden from the public, and from the officers involved, from the union, and from the public. And this is, we're all about transparency. This is why body camera, it's funny because, you even have President Biden talking about that, and Governor Walz has talked about that again and again with the importance of body cams. But I would just love somebody to ask him, well, what happened in the George Floyd case? Why did you hide all four? I mean, all four officers who were there, their body cams were rolling, and nobody wanted to talk about, this 15-minute lapse of time before Derek Chauvin even arrives on scene, when George Floyd says again and again that he can't breathe before Derek Chauvin is even there.
By the way, same thing happened in the 2019 arrest. Calls for his mommy, says he can't breathe. That wasn't allowed to be brought up in the trial, right?
Yeah, just a few seconds of that interaction was even allowed in trial at all. But if you play them side to side, they're eerily similar with the behavior.
Which you would think would be very relevant to this case,
Right.
once again. I think that body cam footage went missing temporarily in the same place that the shooter in Nashville's manifesto is.
They're
Somehow
all in the
there's
same spot.
Yeah, there's this place where things go and they're gone for a little while, you know.
Hunter's laptop.
Hunter's laptop. Yeah, there you go.
It's just
That's
this
it.
hole,
Right.
somewhere.
Well, it's a fascinating book. Liz, thelieexposed.com, they're lying. And I love the story about the media, by the way, because
I have a lot more. That's what I kind of talk about on my little book tour. We talk a lot about the media.
Yeah,
Well,
do you still have
because-
upcoming dates for your book tour?
Yeah, headed to Luck, Wisconsin tonight.
Oh, there you
Mega
go.
Jesse, if you want to make the trip with me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
he's getting ready for his Des Moines trip on Saturday.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I thought you were going there for
Yeah,
sure.
I can't confirm now.
What are you talking
He's
about?
got stuff
We-
going on. He's
Yeah,
got
I got
yeah.
family.
He's got a
Look how
pinata
red
to
he's
pose
getting.
for.
He's getting
No,
red
he's
again.
missing.
Come on,
Oh,
man.
we
I
were
can't
getting
control my
footage.
skin, you know?
I am
Coming
kind
after
of
me for my
actually-
skin, you know? Yeah, excuse me for, being white, you know? Come on now, Jake.
White
I am
shaming
worried about
Jesse.
William at this point. Like, should I?
Yeah, give him
I
a
think
call.
what happened to William is he had
I
a
was-
food order come in,
I have no idea.
and
He has to have a reason.
He
has to
does.
have
Yeah.
a reason.
We have a comment from Dover
Go ahead.
Dan. He said, it's interesting to learn how many people were actually involved with this, like the ambulance not coming and stalling, and how long it took for the guys to get Floyd out of there. Which,
Yes, that's a good comment, and that's actually some of the stuff we're going to be covering in the documentary. As I said, putting the book out, I thought, okay, well, I'll be able to sleep at night. Whatever happens with this book, it's just a way of setting the record straight for history. But so many people now have come forward with just really unbelievable insight and evidence. So that's more my wheelhouse, the documentary thing, the book thing. I was like, oh yeah, I'll write a book. How hard could that be? It's really
I know. I
Hard.
figured it's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
Well, what I think the best part about the book is you got the actual stories from some of these former police officers. The key word here is former, and I know a lot of these too. In fact, Bob probably knows a lot of the same people I know. And the force is just taking a beating, especially Minneapolis, but it's all like that all over the place. These politicians, and that's why you can't say political leaders, because they don't have their back. The Minneapolis police were over 800 strong. Now they're down to in the low 500s or something like that. Is that correct?
Yeah, they say like 520, but I think it's more like 480 or those numbers are. It's really heartbreaking though because as you know, Minneapolis really lost the best of the best. These are people
Yes.
that. Imagine going to work and be willing to, put your life on the line literally every day. But these are, selfless servants. But they were painted into these, racist, bigots that could, and then they have to worry about going to jail constantly. Imagine if that's, what's over your head, and you can't win. I mean, just the. What people, they always have cameras stuck in their faces. We see that all the time. They're called names, and who wants to, work in that environment?
Well, it kind of makes me think about like the Vietnam era vets. They go over to war, so that's not fun, and then they come back, and that's not fun either. It's like, as politicians always say, we gotta have a conversation. Well, the conversation is, are you just not gonna have police? It seems like the nut jobs in Minneapolis actually want that.
Yeah.
You gotta have police in a place like Minneapolis, okay? Someone's got to serve and protect. And so that's not an easy job. You're not willing to do it. Are you willing to do it? No, you're not willing to do it. Someone's got to do it. And so you got to have these people's back. Now, I'm not saying you let everything go by. I mean, there's bad cops, especially in Minneapolis. Is it Mohammed Noor? Is that the name of the one that shot the lady?
Who didn't pass his psychological evaluation but was still put on the force.
Right, right, yeah. Oh, I forgot the part about the book also. So I remember when Ellison took the case. I forgot that Walz
Walz
appointed
is
to
the
him.
one.
Yeah, because that just happened recently again. But I was like, Freeman's actually prosecuted a police officer, and that's a rarity. And they took it out of his hands, and And I think in your book you mentioned that Freeman maybe had a different approach, maybe not even charging these
Well,
guys.
you even had somebody within his office that said, I don't think we should charge these other 3 officers at all. Amy Sweezy is her name, and Alpha News has reported on that extensively. That's all come out now at this point. But she said, we can't charge these other officers. And he sort of, I haven't personally spoken to Freeman, so I can't go ahead and put words in his mouth. But there was definitely things happening behind the scenes with prosecutors that there was a reason they shifted it over to Keith Ellison, who, again, I thought his background is very important to this story. This is the guy we should be talking about. His whole life he's hated police and has been very open about that, and he's putting 5 police officers in prison in Minnesota. That's partly his goal and what he ran on. So, but nobody wants to talk about that.
Yeah, and if dang Republican Party wasn't so incompetent here, the guy wouldn't be in office anymore. But now we're stuck with Ellison for another 4 years and dipshit Walls. Once again, if you're not watching from Minnesota, we're on the front lines of this battle against the lunatic left. It's crazy here in this state.
We actually have Am Faith 92 on Rumble says, I just moved to Minnesota and I'm so grateful to have found this show, especially when you cover state politics. Thanks to the whole crew.
Yeah, well, what's wrong with you, Ann? Why'd you come here? Where'd you come
God bless
from?
you, Ann.
She's probably like, yeah. She's like, oh, this is better. Well, Wendy Phillips down in Orinoco, she came from California during the pandemic, so slightly better. I mean, slightly.
Yep.
Oh, we have endless material.
Yeah.
Your show could be like 6 hours every day.
Well, that's the
guys.
thing. It is.
Right.
And Liz, you want to stick around? We got some other topics here. I mean, drag show. I mean, it seems like we're talking
Yeah,
about
I'll
drag.
stick around for the drag
drag
show.
stuff.
Now that William's back, I feel.
I did disappear, and I decided to reappear real quick.
Well, thank you.
I had to there's drama on the BPOU, so I had to take a phone call.
Oh, there you go.
You're going off this show.
Well,
The #1 rated show. #1 something. I don't know. I gotta look at this.
just make it up. That's
Yeah,
how it
Yeah,
works.
#1.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
#2. If we say #2, no one's gonna be like, oh, they're not #2.
Well, we're #1 according to Action for Liberty.
There you go.
Word matters.
So, you got off our set #1, #2-ish show to take a call about your BPOU.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, William.
This is that new generation.
This
how
is
it
the,
works.
yes. I'm
It
actually
is.
shocked you took a call. The generation
I
just
would
texts
prefer
all the
to
time.
text, yeah.
Well, I was trying to
Wait, you
follow
left the
comments on
studio
my
to
phone. I
text?
can't even do it.
Make sure you sign up for a signed copy. I mean, Liz, she makes her
I'll
mark.
work on it fine.
She makes her mark. I don't know if it's a.
It's how I've always signed my name.
I don't even know how
It
that's.
was that controversial.
I guess that is an L and that's a C. So she initials it.
No, it's not initials.
Do you want
It says
initial
Liz
of-
That's what
Collin.
most people's
Collin.
signatures are.
Yeah.
Give Liz
Have you
some.
seen mine? I'm making fun of it. It's
What do you print
well,
it?
my last name is
Yeah.
Duesenberg. Well, you think I'm putting the U-E-S-E? No, it's a. Gzink.
You're just Jake
Yeah.
D.
Actually, it looks like
Right.
John. I and when I like sign cards, I just put my first name, and literally I look at it, I go, "That's John. It's not Jake." I apparently can't spell my name in
Yeah,
cursive.
seems like you should be making fun of me then.
I know.
Yeah.
Look at that. It comes back at me. Look, she can dish it out, guys.
Yep.
Pretty good. All right, let's get into this story. William, you write about a drag story hour in Chaska, Minnesota.
Yeah, you hit me with this story on Saturday. Can't even get a day off around here, but
What are you
I
talking
wrote
about?
it up. I wrote it up. I do get days
Wow.
off.
This guy complained about
It's
everything.
a good work environment if you all are looking for a job. No, but
And this
crazy,
is why, Exhibit A.
crazy story here. So I grew up in the West Metro. I'm over in the East Metro now, but this hits close to home for me because I know where this place is. And the fact that this is a children's boutique, so like a children's clothing store, and the fact that they're doing drag story hour and they're actively promoting it on Facebook is crazy to me. You go to this article on actionforliberty.com, you'll find the Facebook posting, Dawson. If you'll scroll down there, you can see the Facebook post, and it has, I believe, 50 people who responded. Most of them replied interested. But you have about 10 people who have said they're going. It's just crazy.
And it's,
I mean,
Little Roos in Chaska.
right.
You say you know this area is like a strip mall, or what is it? Looks like it's by Cub Foods.
Yeah. It's little children, and this is a chain of children's boutique stores in Minnesota.
And the
here.
date of this event is July 8th. Now, last time we reported on an event was at Lorson, was going to be at Lorson Elementary School in Minneapolis. They canceled and moved it to a different location outside the elementary school. Once again,
Due to security concerns, but then
is that what they say?
yeah, but then they were supportive protesters that showed up, and it was all fine. There was no.
Did I ever tell you? Did you know about the how would I say this? The rally for law enforcement, rally for
There's not a lot of
Liz
those.
and
so
Bob.
what- the week after, yeah.
Yeah, and Hugo. Do you
Yeah.
know about this? You might not know about this.
I
This
mean,
is
yes,
before I met you the first time.
We were out of town that weekend as well. We're usually out of town in the summer during the weekends, but it was usually to dodge protesters that summer. But yeah, that was very nice. It was a nice, supportive.
Yeah, but do you know what happened though? Like the
gosh.
story behind it? It was
I don't
being
know.
thrown by a couple of Republican
Candidates or something.
Yeah, candidates and Roger Chamberlain. And there was news stories that Antifa was going to show up, and they canceled the Friday afternoon. It was a Saturday
I
event.
remember
They
this
canceled
now.
it.
Yeah.
And I remember Michelle Even and me were like, what the heck are they doing? You don't cave to these guys. So
Oh,
Action
that's
for Liberty
right.
took
Oh,
over.
you- oh,
We
you
blasted
did
out
this, yeah.
Friday evening. Like, we never sent emails out on
This
Friday
is how
evening.
they win.
Yes, this is
good
how
work.
they win.
Good work, Jake.
And this
Thanks.
must have been like
Thanks.
late August, so still summer months. Like, who's going to read our email? And it ended up hundreds of people.
There was a lot of people.
Yes,
Yeah, I saw
very
a
well.
video.
Not one protester, no big deal.
Oh.
And we were like, we're not gonna let these guys win. So I never told you
Thanks.
that because I met you
That's great.
months after that
Yeah,
happened.
yeah, that was long ago. Before you guys had this fancy studio and
Oh
such.
yeah,
It's
well
come a long
this
way.
was metal frames at that time. This
Every
thing
time I
was-
come in here, I'm like, "What'd you guys get? This is exciting."
Yeah.
Clearly not a chair for William.
Not yet.
I know.
We're
All right, we'll get
fundraising
you a
for
chair,
an extra
William.
Yeah,
chair,
right.
but-
We actually have another one
Here's a
of those.
GoFundMe. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, and the Rumble Rants you can do in the Rumble Rants right now. The donate to a chair for William.
K-Wall for Life did give us $10 and said keep
Thank
up the
you,
good
K
work.
Wolf. K Wolf.
K-Wall. K-Wall for Life.
K Wall. I think he does all the time. Or he?
Yeah,
or
I
she?
think
Am I
lately-
misgendering again?
That's a good question. I
What
don't
is
know.
K Wall? I think K Wall's
assume
a
a guy.
dude.
Yeah,
No,
We
Like,
definitely
either
know
way.
that
Yeah,
the
you never know.
Patriot,
Yeah.
Making
Be
a lot
careful.
of assumptions there.
the
Jake.
Patriot Carla Nelson is a woman. We do know that.
That's true.
Not to be confused with Senator Carla Nelson.
Yeah.
All right, Chaska. This is July 8th, 11 a.m. Last time we did this, they canceled. Little Roos is not a public school. They might push on, but this is just crazy. And this is geared towards little children, right? Free event, Little Roos, Chaska.
I think the
Well,
Mall
we
of
got the link in
America
the-
just had one, right? Did that just
I
happen?
think I heard about that. That's right.
Oh, really?
Where was
I did
that?
not hear
Mall
about
of
that.
America.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't really understand this. I mean, I realize
Yeah.
I'm showing my age at this point, but I'm just like, what? Why would you ever bring a child? I just don't get it.
It's
Yeah.
not even
Well,
an
it's
age
grooming.
thing though either though. Like tons of parents just
Yeah,
bringing
oh.
their kids that agree with it.
Or I
And
had
it's like
friends that they would go to these brunches, or I mean, nothing about this even sounds
You have friends
cool
that
to
do
me.
that?
You know, maybe they're former friends.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
but
because they're in
I-
a cult. That's why you don't understand. It's a cult.
Yeah, I don't
Like
get
how
it.
how could you do something like this to children? This is sexual abuse.
Yeah.
This is
Oh,
sexualization
yeah.
of children.
It's
And
horrendous.
You have to be possessed with some kind of ideology, and that's clearly mainstream in the left. There wasn't a single person to vote against the sanctuary bill for genital mutilation, right? Do I have that right? Did Gene Pulowski vote for it in the House?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I
I
think,
think he voted against it.
Pulowski might be the
Pulaski
only
and,
one.
And Liz Lagarde maybe voted for
Liz
some
Lagarde-
of the
yes,
GOP
Liz Lagarde didn't
amendments.
show up.
So
Liz Lagarde didn't show up that
Right.
day. There you go.
Right.
2 Democrats, 1 didn't show up. There's 4 Republicans in the Senate that didn't show up that day.
Well, Coleman showed up at the very end. Julia
Just to
Coleman
vote,
decided to vote at the very end. You know, decided to call in her vote. But yeah, Carla Nelson and Rich Rahim and Karen Housley. You know, Karen Housley, she was busy on vacation there drinking pina coladas, so couldn't be bothered to show up.
We
for
don't
that.
know if that's true. We make an
Well,
assumption.
this is worse than a vacation. It was a legislative conference.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hobnobbing with a swamp. In,
Which maybe is a
Detroit.
vacation for her. I don't know.
Right. I'm sure she enjoyed herself.
The you guys, I think, had talked about too that Senator Lucero introducing a bill that would make drag queen entertainment. You have to be 18 and over to see it. Of course, that's not going to go anywhere. But that just seems like it was a logical.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
More
So that's what
reasonable
they
than
did.
DeSantis,
What a
who does
crazy guy!
21.
What a
Yeah.
crazy guy!
Right. Well, you probably know about this. That's what they did in Florida. They raised the age to attend
Yeah.
a drag show to 21, and you know what happened? A pride parade canceled their whole
Yeah.
thing. They said, "Look, because of this law, we're not
Yeah.
doing this." Really
Yeah.
showing their true colors there.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm always worried about Lucero turning that direction. He keeps going pinker and purpler with his blazers.
Yeah, he's creative.
Sequins and sparkles.
Mm-hmm.
Let's bring up this story. Okay, so this is from the Daily Mail. This is really interesting because Jake Shields was a great fighter I watched. I've been watching MMA for decades. Loved the UFC, loved Strikeforce. He was a middleweight champion in Strikeforce. This is like circa 2010 era. Jake Shields, who basically in his retirement likes to be a little bit of a troll, good troll on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Daily Mail writes, pull this story up here. Do you have it, Dawson?
I do,
Are you
Jake,
back in
but you
skeleton
gotta,
form back there?
No, I do got it, but you got to stop sending me sites so
This is a problem with Daily Mail.
crowd
They
just
are.
got
Oh yeah,
Yep.
it's rough. Yeah.
Yes,
the crowd
I
just
do
got a
apologize.
sound
And
blast of chicken, which combo you picking
Yep.
from the ad down there.
and I also apologize. They'll put clickbait on these stories, so if you see something that's sensitive to eyes, I guess, sorry, that's just how Daily Mail works. Anti-trans UFC. This is a fair and balanced story here, right there. Anti-trans UFC star who offered to fight 10 transgender men in a row has this challenge taken up by a fierce wrestler who promises to wipe the floor with them.
The longest headline known to man.
Yeah.
Also, just think back like 5 years ago. Did you ever think you'd even be reading like a headline like this? It's
Not
just
at
so
all.
Strange.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
people
strange.
forget Minnesota had a trifecta in 2013 and 2014, so just a decade ago. And back in that trifecta, you had like, what was his name? John Ward up in Brainerd. Brainerd was represented by a Democrat. You had Democrats in rural Minnesota back then.
It's a lot different now.
It's a lot different. Yes, it's crazy what they're doing nowadays. UFC star Jake Shields. By the way, Jake Shields isn't in the UFC anymore. Hasn't been since like 2018 or something like that. No, longer than that, 2014. He created a scandal when he challenged 10 trans male fighters to face him without a break between bouts. And now wrestler Mark Beggs has answered the call and boasted he will F him up, the former world title contender. Lots of incorrect things in that first paragraph, Daily Mail. First of all, Jake Shields was a title holder, Strikeforce middleweight champion. It's 185 pounds. That's a badass there. Here's the thing. 10 trans male fighters. So what he's saying is a woman.
Yeah.
And this right here is Mark Beggs. I see both Mark and Mac. That's the other thing about these trans people is they're changing their names. This is apparently a woman. Now I look at that and I go, really?
Yeah.
I mean,
And it's got the
what's-
trans flag even as the singlet. That's hilarious to me as a wrestler, to specifically design a singlet just to show off your little transgenderness. It's pretty crazy.
This
and
is kind of insensitive, but once you have the context that's really a woman or a man, vice versa, you can tell.
You can?
look at-
Because
you
I see a
look at-
bulge down there and I'm just like, wait, what are we talking about?
Well,
you're
which is
looking
even
for,
more
Jake.
funny because it's either this is going to get gross, but it's either one of those
Oh, it's
fake
going to get
appendages,
No, tell me about it. I don't know about this stuff.
or it's just like it's a prosthetic, which I don't know which is more ridiculous in this instance
yeah, I
here.
don't know.
Scroll up just a little bit. You see a picture of Jake Shields. If our audience doesn't know who Jake Shields is, it's right there. That's Jake Shields. Looks like he's
That's a man.
probably facing Hector
Yeah.
Lumber. Yeah, he was literally.
Even though he's a vegetarian, he is still a man.
No, he eats eggs and fish.
Oh, so he's a pescatarian.
No,
don't
I
know
Well,
about
don't.
eggs
this
aren't
guy.
pescataririan.
Oh wait, yeah. So what is he? You said
He's
he's
not a
vegetarian.
vegan. Jake Shields has been on Joe Rogan's podcast before. He's talked about
Oh,
it.
I've missed that one.
Yeah, Jake Shields is literally was the top 5 welterweight in the UFC. He fought GSP, so at one point he was ranked number 2 or 1. So scroll down again. You can look at more pictures here of Mark Beggs. No, go back up. You see where it's got that little blue thing on the bottom of that picture of Mark? Right there. You can click on that. It says 6 more pictures. Scroll through these here. Okay, so this is the tweet. Since trans men are real men, I would like to challenge the 10 toughest trans men in the world to a fight. I fight them with no training camp and no rest between each fight. And then he writes back, so this is months ago, I believe. And then he writes back, 1 million views and not a single trans man has stepped up to accept my challenge. I'm starting to think they don't have the balls to fight me. That's pretty good troll, gotta admit. Pretty good.
Wow.
Once again, he's asking for a woman to step and fight him. This is apparently Mark, the woman who's now a man,
Yeah.
which is not true because you can't just become a man, but definitely taking testosterone and growing out facial hair, which is crazy. Scroll here. There's some old pictures. Now this
Yeah.
is Beggs. earlier on, where you could see the hips. Still, that looks like a woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And still a woman, just so you guys know. If I accidentally say he, she, it's just going to be so confusing because at this point the transition is bad. You know, Liz, that reminds me, you had a great interview with a woman who became a trans man, didn't become a man, became a trans man. All right, we'll give it that, and regretted it, and talked about the shower bombing, or what was it, love bombing?
Love bombing.
Bombing.
Prisha Mosley is her name, and someone who I really commend. I mean, she's very brave to come out, and she's done some media interviews now, but she just talked about how as a kid she had an eating disorder, there was some mental health issues in her family and such, but this was sort of the community she connected with, and she was love bombed and sort of lured into this change. And something that struck me during that interview, though, she said that she decided to go ahead and start getting testosterone, and she was able to get the prescription within 15 minutes of meeting with the clinician. Just walking in, and she said the paperwork was filled out already, and she just had to, answer a few questions, and it was that simple. And this is by the time I think she was like 16 or 17 years old.
I'm a man in my 40s, and I got to keep up with these young punks who are now lifting, even Dawson. I don't feel like I could get testosterone that quick.
It was, it was shocking. Many things about that interview were very shocking, and a lot of people watched it, but I we tried to get it out before the session and such, and the vote, and it's like it just doesn't. People they don't put somebody like that in the news. Instead, you had the front page of the Star Tribune with,
the 6-year-old.
The 6-year-old who moved from another state
crazy.
to come to Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So crazy. It's just child abuse what they're doing. Are you familiar with the Navy SEAL? I'm thinking a name slipping my mind right now. Chris something.
Beck.
What is it? Beck. Yes. Chris Beck.
No relation.
Kristen Beck. Yeah, not related to William Beck.
Oh, I know a little bit of this.
Oh, that's a fascinating story because if you think about like the most testosterone-driven job in the world is a Navy SEAL, and Chris transitioned, so to speak, but now has come back and has done some interviews, not a lot. That'd be a good one for you to hunt, but not done a lot of interviews talking about how this didn't make any sense. They're love bombing you, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, they're doing the same thing to Chris Beck, which
Well,
is interesting because he could probably kick all their ass.
And that's what she talks about too. Is like none of these people, of course, talk to her anymore. Instead, now all she gets is death threats from these same people who,
Right.
were supposed to be her lifelong friends in her community, and such. And now she doesn't think she can have children. All of this damage, done to her body as a result of this. So it's really horrific.
And it's a cult. That's the thing is like, and especially that's the thing is with the young children, like they don't know any better. You have the lieutenant governor of Minnesota saying we need to listen to our children when they talk to us. Like,
Wearing
no,
a
you
T-shirt
don't.
with a knife on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what's going on with that?
Yeah.
We still don't know that story, right? No one wants talk about reporters that don't do their jobs. Just
Nobody
obscure
even-
people like us
nobody-
in alternative
yeah.
media.
Yeah. Nobody even brought it up ever.
Yeah.
Why
Did you
are
see?
wearing-
We did a tweet. We doctored the photo with an AR-15 instead of the knife, thinking maybe that would capture their attention. If you got a black rifle on
Was
there.
that Mega Jesse's idea again?
Not me.
What, I can't have good ideas around here. What is going on?
Usually
No offense,
don't.
Jess.
Liz, they're gonna want Liz
Again,
on-
they're younger. They're younger.
They're gonna want you on the show all the time, Liz, because you dish it back at me. They feel like, oh, he's always coming after us. Jake gave me a story to do on Saturday.
He just wants a day off.
Just one day off.
He just took like 10 minutes off. Did you see that? I mean,
Oh, it wasn't
Apparently,
10
there's more
minutes.
important things going on in this
yeah,
world.
this is how he has to do it. He just walks off.
Mega Jesse, what's Trump going through right now? Tell us about
Oh,
this.
wow.
Yeah, no, I mean the Trump deposition. I've been able to watch the entire deposition. This 48-minute video. It's absolutely crazy. Of
Well,
course,
tell
it's-
people what this case is. That's
right.
the thing.
It's
Like, this
it's
is
another
not-
witch hunt. Big surprise. They're coming after Trump. There's all these women with all the fake accusations, saying the sexual assault stuff, saying all of the rape and whatnot. So this is a rape accusation. One of the only accusations that claims of rape. And come to find out, this lady's insane that's accusing him. There's a quick video that shows some of the highlights of what Trump was saying in the deposition. I think it's pretty interesting, and I think people should check it out
All right,
let's
play the
we
deposition
can roll that
video.
footage.
This is Trump being deposed by the counsel for what's her name? Curtin or something like that?
Jean
something Curtin. Why do I keep saying
Carroll. Jean Carroll.
Jean Curtin's an actress, isn't that?
I have no idea.
I'm
Nobody has any
making that
idea,
up.
Jake, what you're
All right,
talking
no idea. Go ahead, let's play this.
Don't know this one. I think she's a whack job. I have no idea. I don't know anything about this woman other than what I read in stories and what I hear. I know nothing about her. She said that I did something to her that never took place. There was no anything. I know nothing about this nut job. I think she's sick, mentally sick. She's accusing me of rape. A woman that I have no idea who she is. It came out of the blue. She's accusing me of rape, of raping her. The worst thing you can do, the worst charge. And you know it's not true too. You're a political operative also. You're a disgrace. But she's accusing me
She's a
of
disgrace.
rape, and it never took place. And I will tell you, I made that statement and I said, well, it's politically incorrect. She's not my type. And that's 100% true. She's not my type. There's this ridiculous situation that we're doing right. It's a big fat hoax. She's a liar and she's a sick person, in my opinion. Really sick. Something wrong with her.
Oh my God.
Right.
Trump. A lot of people say you're a political operative, not me.
Yep.
But a lot of people say it.
No,
He didn't do that one. He just went right for it.
He went for the classic, she's not my type. The classic Trump move, you know. And the way he presents himself in the entire thing, it just shows how blunt and honest he is. You know, he's just saying this is the way that things go. And it seemed to me they didn't even prepare for this thing at all. It seemed as if he was just winging it.
And by the way, you're a disgrace.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're a
Yeah.
disgrace. That's the killer
Classic.
line
He
there.
literally says to the attorney, because it must
Yeah.
be a female attorney,
Yeah.
and this is not in this clip, but he goes, she wasn't my type. And by the way, you wouldn't be my type either.
Yeah, he went after the lawyer too. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Oh my God! There's
yeah.
a slip up though, and we didn't have in this clip. What's the slip
Right.
up that the media is going to just hound on him for?
You can ask William. I don't go after Trump, but
You can't even call strikes and balls. I mean, that's crazy.
But anyway, what's interesting is on the CNN interview. Let's go to the Anderson
No, hold
Cooper
on.
interview with
Let's
Gene
bring-
Carroll.
Let's bring that out real quick.
That is a great
Some of
one.
us are pretty objective here.
Yes.
Jesse,
Oh,
We're
yeah,
gonna be objective
right.
on this podcast.
Yeah,
This is the Greg
right.
and Jesse show. What happened, William?
Oh, okay. I didn't realize we're going to me on this one.
Well,
No,
he-
I'll just say it. I'll just say it. So,
Okay.
yeah, Trump confused.
We won't tell him.
Yeah, no, Trump they gave Trump the photograph of him and this accuser, and he said, and there's my wife, Marla Maples, and they said, no, that's the accuser, and he said, well, the photo's blurry, so big whoop.
I think
you know.
that's a fair criticism, though. If the photo was blurry, like I'm sure they're trying to trick him.
Yeah, I think they're gonna make. a
Yeah,
big deal of it.
exactly. It's the
And
Well,
one.
she might
that-
have wearing
especially
sunglasses.
when you see this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, okay. So here's
Yeah.
the clip of the accuser. Jane. I was thinking Jane Curtin, by the way, who is an actress.
Mm-hmm.
All right, just so you guys know, you probably have no idea who that is, Jane Curtin. All right. Anyhow, this is what's her name again?
Jean Carroll.
Jean Carroll.
Right. Yeah.
Jean Carroll and this is 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I have not followed the story at all because why would I follow a story? Do I believe any of these people anymore? Like they're ridiculous.
Hmm.
But this is Jean Carroll, and she is on Anderson Cooper, and I think even Anderson Cooper goes, "Oh my God, what did I get myself into?" Watch this clip.
Mm-hmm.
Turn it up there, Dawson.
The word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual. It hurt. It just
Well, I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Crazy.
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
We're just going to take a quick break.
We're gonna need to
If you
take a
can stick
break.
around, we'll talk about the other side.
Wait for
You're
this.
fascinating to talk to.
Wow.
All right, so there's Trump's accuser. So,
Yep.
boy, what do you guys think? What do
They
you guys
brought
think
the
at home?
best, their best and brightest attackers. It's just like, oh my gosh, could it be any more obvious that this is a crazy person? I think it's just so obvious that the Democrats are looking to do anything they can to try to discredit Trump. It's just if they want to take him out honestly, take him out on ideas, but they don't know how to do anything fairly. They're just gonna witch hunt it and try to throw him in prison even if they can. So it's a shame. It's
You got to think
bad
at
place
some-
for our country.
Yeah, I think at some point Trump might be pretty clean because this is all the stuff they're coming at him for, and that's what they got. I mean,
Right, the
What are
deposition,
we
it's all
doing
just
here?
filled with old stuff. It's like the Access Hollywood tape. It's just like, are
Mm-hmm.
you kidding me? We knew about that in 2015, So it just goes to show that they're piling up old evidence that everybody already knew about. It's they're just pathetic. It shows how weak these Democrats are, and they're nervous because look at the polls. Trump is up by 7 points on Biden. They better be nervous.
Yes. In fact, we just posted on Twitter that only a third of survey respondents think that Biden has the mental capacity to be president, which I argue that there's a third of the survey respondents that don't have the mental capacity to answer that question.
Right.
But, yeah, he's not looking good. Trump is actually winning. Now, that's a poll of, I think, just nationally. It's not taking into effect the Electoral College. But I would think that even in the Electoral College, it's going to be even more skewed towards Trump in this regard.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be a fight. We'll see what ends up happening. It's not going to be easy because we know what the Democrats do that I can't say on YouTube, but we know what the Democrats do, and it's going to be a fight. But, yeah, it's going to be exciting to watch.
So you're not buying that Biden's going to win this race running on freedom, Jesse?
Not at all. No, I think he's gaslighting us on that one.
Yeah, that's his campaign. It's on freedom. That's what he's running on. My
Anything
God.
but. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to your comments at home, and then we'll sign off for the day. Liz, it's been so much fun. By the way, we got the link. You can sign up for her initial copy of the book, They're Lying.
I can write whatever you want.
That's
in there,
okay. Now everyone wants
I'll
to
draw a picture.
What picture would
whatever
you?
you
What
want.
picture would you draw in there?
Well, if anybody has a request, there's a fire, something is burning.
That's a good idea. Burning building, right?
A burning building.
Would you do that?
I'll do
All right.
whatever.
So you're going to get the only initial copy of Liz Collin's book with a burning building. There you go. Walls, Jacob Fry crying. Put Jacob Fry crying.
Oh,
even if it's a stick figure.
Oh, okay, all right.
It just has to be your
Jacob Fry pinata.
That's good. That is a small pinata.
All right, here's the deal. We won't tell you what.
There's nothing in it.
We'll let her do whatever she wants.
Yeah.
Under her initials, she whatever she wants. You only can win this book. It's be the only book that's got it. We're not going to tell you what the picture's of, all right?
Okay.
Only we will know about it here, but you can win it. Sign up there. Otherwise, if you just want to go buy the book, I encourage you to do that. lieexposed.com. Go to Amazon. I guess you can go to Amazon. Jeff Bezos' Amazon. And buy it.
TheLieExposed.com, and then TheLyingTheMovie.com is some information about the documentary too.
Nice.
So,
Do you need some actors? Jesse's pretty good.
Yeah.
These guys got important roles. They don't know it yet.
Yeah, right.
Pinata.
Actually, William's just going to be in the background of every single interview, just like that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's how you do interviews, right? You have people sitting right behind you.
Yes.
Well,
peering
yeah,
over
the
your
problem
shoulders.
is you got Deep State Dawson's got some kind of mutated version of COVID or something, and he's there, sick. Looking better than the skeleton at the beginning. What do we got here, Bridget?
We have someone saying, where is Brandon's taped deposition in relevance to Tara Reid's accusations? Brandon Biden, so.
Biden's, I guess I'm not following
I
that.
don't understand.
Yeah,
I don't know. He said, so here it is again. Where is Brandon's taped deposition in relevance to Tara Reid's accusations?
Oh, yeah, I go with, so Tara Reid. Tara Reid was the individual who accused Joe Biden while he was a U.S. senator of sexually assaulting her. So Tara Reid, she came out later after, when Biden was considering to get into this 2020 run. And actually, what's interesting on that story is there's footage of her mom calling into the Larry King show on CNN and, saying she was saying it in a very veiled way, but, it showed how those connections were there. And, Joe Biden, there's all those videos of him sniffing hair. We know what kind of creep Joe Biden is,
I mean, really, honestly, at this point, what is that? I don't know what that is.
Yeah. I've never done that to anybody.
No, it's bizarre. You don't do that.
No, I don't know.
Oh. Commander-in-Chief. Unbelievable.
Well, and they'll blame it on generational difference, which I've never seen any old person
I've never
other
seen
than
anybody
Joe
do
Biden do that.
Yeah, there's different generation there. My God. What else we got here?
In reference to Trump, Dover Dan says, is this the one where it happened in a dressing room? It's interesting that no one heard anything. Nothing was said. Cops were not called. Now there is a dress with DNA on it, but no testing.
Well, it's a civil case. It's not even a criminal case. So that's what it is. She's seeking do you know what kind of damage is she seeking?
I don't know. No, I don't know.
And I don't know if you guys covered this while I was gone or not.
Yeah, he was gone for like half hour. So
yeah,
we probably
an hour or two, I think.
Something like that.
Probably did. Want some time off.
Liz thought we were upgrading your chair or something. Or
I should have brought in a new chair while we were at it. The reason they're bringing this up now is because they just got rid of any statutory limitations in New York. so you can bring up any kind of lawsuit you want against these people, no matter how old the alleged crime was.
I mean, is that just purely for Trump? Is that why they passed that law?
Oh, definitely.
Well, for sure.
Yeah.
Gotta love that.
Yep.
I think they changed the law in Minnesota because of us. We'll get into that to another episode, but you know what I'm talking. You guys know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh yeah, I got it.
Wait, the thing against us or the statute of limitations?
No, the election bill.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
definitely
we'll bring
because
that
of
up.
us.
Yeah, you're
going
going
to
to talk about that on our show for sure.
Oh, I mean, Liz, like there's so much we could talk about here.
I know.
Like, where do you begin? Go to actionforliberty.com. You can read all the stories we're covering. We got less than 2 weeks left of the legislature, so.
Yep.
And Jesse's watching House, Senate, and committee hearings all the time. That's his job. So, what else we got, Bridget?
Someone says a John Thompson pinata drawing.
Yeah.
In the book.
That'd be a good one.
Oh,
That's the next Walls caricature thing.
really just not very good.
I think if we
as
got
an
Liz Collins
artist,
to do
so-
a big drawing of that, we could auction that
Oh
off
my
for
gosh,
good
yeah.
money. Actually, that could be our state fair sign this
I
year.
could do Bob and Pinata. I think I got his down. It's like the gap in his teeth and the diaper. I got the. I can do Bob.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's acceptable.
my buddy K Liquid says, who's now a Florida resident, by the way. Bye-bye, Minnesota. You can see the moment that Anderson Cooper realized that she was crazy and that this was only going to make him look stupid by proxy.
Yep.
I mean, how uncomfortable is that for Anderson
When
Cooper?
you're just randomly going to a commercial break, it's bad.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Yeah, you're an expert at this, right?
Yeah.
You don't do that.
That wasn't scripted.
And then she goes, "You're fun to talk
You're
to."
fascinating to
Oh my God,
Yeah.
crazy
Yeah.
eyes.
Yeah.
Not my type. She's not my type. Neither were you. What else we got, Bridget?
Tucker says, just look at her hair. It screams mentally disheveled. It's a hairstyle I would expect to see on a hobo. Pretty
Yeah.
brutal.
Oh man.
Dover Dan says, go Bob. And we had some people in the beginning saying hi to Liz, and that Liz is a true patriot. Roxy 1956 says Liz is a true patriot.
Do we not have the Patriot Carla Nelson today in our comment
No,
section?
I haven't
What is
seen a
she
single
doing?
one from
Is she
her.
like on vacation?
Yeah, probably.
She was meeting William off studio off set here today. What's going on? No Patriot
I don't know. You have
Carla
to ask
Nelson.
William that.
Do we have the Senator Carla
Something
Nelson
I should
watching
know
today?
about?
I don't know.
What's going on?
Oh,
Oh,
no.
no.
We got a viewer that's named after. It's got the same name as a senator.
We have
so-
too many inside jokes.
We
here.
do, yeah. I guess we do. We also Cheryl Yoakum. We found out Democrat legislator.
There's no way
likes-
that wasn't her who
It is,
signed
yeah.
up.
Definitely following us.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
Anything else here, Bridget?
Not really. Just comments throughout the show. No more questions, though.
Well, we appreciate you guys commenting and watching and spread this out there. Liz Collins, great book.
Thank you.
Highly recommend the audio version too if you're like me and it's just easier to throw something on in the vehicle. I don't listen to traditional radio.
There are pictures in the book, though. However,
You know, I always
So-
think about that because I do
Yeah.
listen to enough audiobooks where I'm
documents.
like, yeah, it does suck. Well, here's actually the truth. So I do this. I do buy both, right? So I might buy a book and then I just reference the pictures and maybe, it's sporadic. You don't have like that middle section. You actually adding them into
Yeah,
the
you
chapters.
kind of go
This is the
along
first
with
time
this,
I've gone through
going
your.
along with the story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so buy both actually, right? Get the audio
Jake,
book.
this is really good. Thanks.
I actually
I
bought
just
it
wanna
last
say
time.
the
Jake
audio-
mentioned it last
Thanks.
show. and
Oh,
I was
you guys
like,
are
I need to
really
read
great.
it.
Well, the audiobook is really good. That's what I'm saying. Is like some audiobooks, just one person reading it, but by mixing it up, I like that a lot. I think that it flows really well. Plus, you're used to speaking for a living, right? So
Well,
it was
I
very
thought
easy
so
for
until
you.
I tried to record this thing. I'm like, this is a lot harder than I thought.
How many mistakes
I'll
do you
go
make?
back. Take 7,368. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot. No,
How long did
was-
it take you? How many hours do you think total?
Well, that was the thing too. You don't want to sound like you're reading, so I tried to be refreshed. I think I did it over the course of 2 weeks, maybe, or something, something like that.
Ouch.
That is
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
Where do you do it? Do you guys have a studio at Alpha News to do it, or do you?
I have a
rent
laptop.
something? You did on your laptop?
It's a high tech laptop.
Okay, awesome.
I have this thing called a laptop.
Can
Tell me more.
I have a question? What kind of microphone did you use, or was it just your laptop?
Well, I stole one from Alpha News. So thank you for bringing that up.
Sorry.
I returned it, however.
Well, I don't think it's stealing. It's borrowing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
borrowed.
We don't
I
need
borrowed.
to.
I did get permission.
We're not
Uh-huh.
prosecuting you here. Hey,
Yeah.
Walls, we need Keith Ellison on this one.
Yeah, right.
Theft of a microphone. You're like, I'm on this one. She's married
Oh,
to a
yeah,
cop.
yeah, for
Get
sure.
her.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
We're done with comments.
Dover Dan did throw in here last
Okay.
minute. He says Carla Nelson, the rep, said that she does not vote remote. That was one of her excuses for not voting for the kidnapping bill.
That's not an excuse.
I
Then you
know.
show up and do your job.
Yeah.
So Doberdan, did you like press her on this and like in the town hall? Because she had a town hall that Saturday, right?
Yeah, she did have a town hall
That-
immediately after that.
Listen, you guys cannot buy crappy excuses from politicians. Their job is to show up and vote, right? And if you can't show up and vote, then you vote remotely. What bill's more important than that one, which is child abuse? So what a crappy response. Not that I'm shocked. That's what these guys do. They lie all the time. Unbelievable. All right. The Lie Exposed, the lieexposed.com, or go to Audible. That's where I bought your book.
You can get that on thelieexposed.com too. Yeah. I
That's
lasted
it.
the whole hour, you guys. Thanks.
It's an hour and 15
Well,
minutes there, Liz.
I gotta see if maybe I'm banned on YouTube now, or what kind of
Don't
fallout?
worry about
What
it.
kind of fallout can I expect?
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I was waiting for Mark Chaska to get canceled eventually. That's gonna happen.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah.
Which
great.
means he'll be canceled.
That's right.
Exactly. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you on Thursday at 1 o'clock. Take care.